This week I'm going to be painting some rocks. I'll still go over the materials I'm going to be using, but for the most part you just pick out some rocks, get some paint, and use some creativity. So I have 3 rocks here. We're going to need some paint, some toothpicks, a dotting tool, some acrylic gesso, a matte varnish for acrylic paints, some extra white paint, and a paintbrush. So first things first, you're going to want to take the acrylic gesso and you're going to want to use that to paint over all the rocks. The gesso kind of works as a primer so that it'll be easier when we go to paint. It won't take as many coats to get the color nice and vibrant. Okay, that's all done. I think I ended up doing 2 coats of the gesso on each rock. And now it's time to break out our paints and figure out what we're going to paint on these. I usually have these cute little paint containers for mixing colors. This time though, I think these paints are old enough. I'm probably going to get rid of them soon anyway. So I'm just going to mix the colors that I want in the paints themselves. So for this one, some green and some yellow to make a lighter, brighter green. I think it's important to remember that when you're mixing colors, it's always good to have extra paint, just in case you need a second coat or you need to do any touch-ups later. So here I'm going to use my cute little paint containers this time to mix a couple other colors. For this one I'm just using white and black paint to make a light gray. Okay, and for this last rock, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I've actually got a pencil here. I'm going to sketch something out before I start painting. Okay, got that all sketched out now. So I'm going to take my dotting tool and some black paint and just start going over those lines to get a rough idea of where I'm going to want the colors. Another good thing to keep in mind here is that these took quite a long time to complete with the amount of touch-ups I was doing and the back and forth letting things dry in between. And so just make sure you have enough time when you're doing this. Don't rush it. As you see here, I go in with the blue paint, and the white paint I put on before hasn't dried yet, so it already starts mixing the colors. So just imagine you did that with the orange and blue, you'd end up with a muddy mess. I'm actually going to have to step away from this one and let it dry and work on some of the others in between. So the footage gets a little bit choppy as I move between each rock. I don't go straight through one rock at a time. They'll all be finished by the end of the video. Alright, and moving on, I did place this rock on top of one of the little paint containers just to keep it off of the paper while it dried. So remove that and figure out a plan for this one. So I think for the gray one and the green one, it's going to be second coats of paint first, and then I'll figure out what I'm putting on each of those, paint through those, get to a point right before all the touch-up phases. So I'll complete all that and circle back. So another thing I just want to mention is that when you're painting, it's best to start out with the lighter colors and then use the darker colors just in case you need to go over anything. Makes it easier, takes less coats and less time to go over a lighter color with a darker color. I will admit though, that's not something I always follow. Alright, so these are almost done, and this is where I want to go in with a toothpick and put in all the little details, fix anything that needs touching up, and get the painting finished before I seal it all in with the varnish. And I thought that's what dotting tools were supposed to be for, but I found that even the dotting tool doesn't get a fine enough line, so I've reverted back to toothpicks. So if you haven't been able to tell what these are yet, I'll just give you a quick hint. It's a father penguin and his egg, a squirrel and an acorn, and this third one is just a little turtle. Okay, and that does it for the paint. So I'm just going to do a quick coat of varnish on each of these just to seal in all the paint. And I like the look of a matte finish on these, so I buy the matte varnish versus something with a glossy finish. And that'll do it for this week. I'll see you next week.